Yeah, I'm good.
You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy.
Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Greg Hectus. All right, Brian McCubbin.
Hey everybody, happy Daylight Savings Week.
That's funny. And John Kearney.
Hello, iRacers.
Justin Pearson.
What up, fellow racers?
On the show today, we'll look at how some of our champions get their dues. Motorsports Games loses another license, and the hardware reviews never stop. Pull up a chair and take a load off and join us in the lounge.
That's right, Mike. And you can join us on iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes, and you'll be able to see all these great stories and products we'll discuss today. And so, so log in, check it out, and we'll see you there at iRacersLounge.com.
Topics. Hey, let's throw it to Brian for the World of Outlaw late model champ. Get some hardware.
That's right, Mike. So this past week was the World of Outlaws season finale at the Charlotte Dirt Track, and that's where they honored the World of Outlaws late model butt kicker series champ Evan C., who picked up his goodies after winning his second consecutive late model series. So he got his big old novelty check. He got his trophy. Everything was picked up there at the track.
Looks like it was Tyler Hudson presenting the check to him there, $11,700, and then the trophy. It looks pretty nice. Got the iRacing logo on it. 2023. The World of Outlaws up above, of course.
Everybody loves a fake check.
So I'm guessing the 11,700 figure came from his the series win and his cumulative wins throughout the season. Because I think it's $300 for a win, $200 for second, and $100 for third. So I think that's where the weird number came from.
It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Oop, go ahead.
Sorry about that. No, it's nice to put a face to a name. I've watched this kid race, and he pretty much dominated that season.
Yeah, sure did. He's dominated the last two seasons, so it'll be interesting next year to see if anybody can really pressure Evan for this championship, because he's really just won this thing easy last 2 years.
It's a pretty nice sweater he's got too for iRacing.
Ooh, like a camo look maybe, and then it's got the logo on the breast. Pretty cool.
Nice trophy. That's a sick trophy to get too. For your hardware.
So Brian, I don't follow. Does this guy race or try to race in real life? I mean, I can't imagine a real dirt car team not wanting this guy to, try him out.
I don't remember seeing him with any real life experience. I could be wrong, and but I know there are some of the Dirt Series drivers who do race real world. I don't remember for sure Evan C. being a part of that.
All right, John, tell us about, is the protest system fixed? This is part 2.
Yeah, we got another video from DJ EJ about the protest system that's coming down the pike for iRacing. And, they posted in the forums, and I think we might have talked about this last week, but some of the the things that they're going to try to do that'll be updated in the sporting code is some coaching, post-race results, and DJ EJ gets into some of his thoughts and comments about that.
I think the big one was he thinks that iRating needs to be removed for this to really be effective if you're going to get DQ'd. Because the way that it read last week was they would remove championship points. It didn't mention iRating, safety rating, that kind of thing. And so in his opinion, yeah, it needs to be iRating to be effective. You know, and so the question really came down to, he asked his listeners, are we going to take away iRating for bad behavior? There were a couple good comments on the video. I'm going to read one of them, and John, you pick up the other. We had from Thea Goods 021. I feel that a drop in iRating for DQs will result in a massive improvement in driving standards right off the bat. The top splits are getting overloaded with the esports win at all costs mentality. And if this approach eventually leads people from dropping out of the top split, we can have a less sweaty future indeed.
Yeah, and at Rules Lawyer, which, by the way, that's not me, he said, I don't like the idea of docking iRating. It just means that slower racers have to deal with the trolls. There's enough to deal with in those races without making it a dumping ground for them. I'd prefer to sell temporary bans handed off more often or make a hidden rating where the trolls all get matched.
I think reading into what all this is going on with this new system they want to bring in, we don't have any statistics on how many people actually are getting protested or and successfully, being banned or just having a couple race suspension or things like that. When you have the iRating system, I don't want to wait a couple days to find out, is my iRating that I got in that race going up, down, because there's somebody else that was doing foolish stuff in the race. I think the only way you can solve it with the whole iRating system is, because the way they make the iRating system and the safety system a factor on your I think is it only the safety system that they do off of your past 10 races or whatever, they do it at cumulative. I don't know if it's iRating does that way, but I think what they need to do is add an accumulator to the iRating where if you do get protested, you're out a while, when you come back, you have a 10 race penalty where your iRating doesn't move as fast or something like that, where it's not it's something that they have a penalty for. It's not, we can't take it away after the race. They get a 0, everyone else's can't change. You can't be changing the results on one thing like that. It just has to move that person out, and we have to move on. I think we get so stuck in having these every little piece of iRating. I mean, obviously, Mike, it made a whole difference for you for moving from split to split to get more points in races for your trying to get the championship there in the last part of the season. But I just don't think affecting iRating with protests is going to be going to help. They just need to have a better process with this.
I don't know if this is a little extreme, but I think they need to take like a play off of NASCAR's book. I consider rough driving kind of like cheating if you're wrecking on purpose. And in NASCAR, they put the cheaters' parts out for everybody can see. There's a little bit of humility when that happens. Put their names out there. Put the video out there. Make them aware. It's fair for the other drivers that are actually racing clean to know that name.
Justin, I think there's a legal reason they don't do that.
Darn it.
Because it'd be so easy just to have a protest page where you could go and see people's names and see who's been protesting and why they're gone. There's a reason you get that email back saying you don't know what the protest is. There's got to be a legal reason why they don't obviously give that up.
I guess I think there just needs to be a little humility. In real life, that's why they don't do it, because millions of people see them do it.
So my take on this is I understand why they do it on championship points. It's for every reason that Greg just stated. You can't change iRating after the fact. Like you do a race on a Saturday and then Tuesday, all of a sudden you have a different iRating. Well, oh, because some bozo got protested from a race 3 days ago. We don't want that. So that's why they say it's championship points. But on the other hand, how many iRacers care about championship points? I don't think there's a lot. If you look at an overall percentage, there's not a lot of people chasing championships here. It's the people in the top 5 of these series might be chasing it. Okay. You run a particular series and you're in the top 5, yeah, you might be watching the points. But everyone else that you're racing against, they're one-offers. They're not there every week. They're just there this week.
Well, I think two things on that too, Mike. You might not get a championship, but say in the middle of a race there was a wreck that was intentional and somebody protested you for it, and say that was the driver that ended up on going on and winning that race or something, right? And he gets protests afterward. I think that's where it'll hit people more. Where okay, now that win is taken out of your statistics, and it's that win's taken away, and or top 5 or whatever you get out of the race. It might be might be more of a hamper to people. But I just I believe that majority of people, as soon as they're out of the championship point race for the season, do they really care after a while?
Yeah, I don't think the average iRacer is ever going to look at championship points. I mean, I've been on the service for about a year, and I know I'm not in the chase for any championship. Never looked at it. Couldn't tell you what my championship points are. And honestly, at this stage of my career, I don't really care because I know I'm nowhere near the top.
Well, that's my point. I mean, so they go and disqualify John Kearney for bad driving. What's the penalty? Oh, they took away his championship points for a race he doesn't care about. It's just so that's my point.
Now here's the other thing. What if there was a tie to winning the division championships? I know they can't do it because you just get people that would knock down divisions to try and win it. So like if you put like say you get 100 iRacing credits if you won the championship after a season or something like that, people would start moving down divisions to try and win them because they know they can go up in iRating and get more championship points. But if there was an incentive somehow to trying to win a championship, then it would feel like a penalty to take the points away. But I just feel like in the end, if you start also, we're talking about the iRating there. If you start adding the iRating being taken away, if I don't think I've ever seen where you can take iRating away in from them at all. I don't know if I've ever seen someone ever lose iRating by being manually manipulated by iRacing. Is it possible, if that was the case, do you think it opens up a can of worms if they all of a sudden took iRating away after a race or something like that and move things around? Wouldn't you get people complaining like, oh, I disconnected, and because of your failed server, then you get people, oh, you can make maybe manipulations with iRating. Well, I should have been finished here or things like that. I think it would just open more cans of worms.
Yeah, I mean, the way the iRating system's designed, I don't think they can do it technically. I mean, so that's why it's championship points. I think DJ is, wishful thinking. All right, let's move on. Justin, how about Coke Series champ honored?
Yeah, as a part of NASCAR's championship weekend at Phoenix, eNASCAR Coke Series champion Steven Wilson receives his honor, and iRacing put out a tweet here. It's a good weekend to be an SHR fan, and it's got a picture of Steven Wilson holding a big old check for
$101,600.
That's a good little salary right there.
And did you guys realize that's the 4th Ford that won a championship this year? They won in esports as well.
That's crazy.
So that's Steve Myers on the right side of the picture. I don't know who the other two guys are.
I'm guessing maybe one of them's the track president and then one's a NASCAR person. I can't see who it is.
Well, one of them's from Coke, I'm sure, and it's probably the guy holding the Coke in the middle.
Maybe the other one's a NASCAR person then.
Probably a NASCAR. You know what? That might be Jusan Hamilton, who's director of esports for NASCAR, I believe.
You know, that's a big check. You know, that's real money, and I think it's pretty cool that there's that kind of money put into the series to reward these guys for their hard work.
Now, does he get to file it in Arizona and get less tax taken off on it, or does he have to file it in the state he's from?
State he lives in.
So do you think this is what he made from eNASCAR? Do you think he made more with sponsorships?
Sure, because Stuart Haas Racing, he runs for them. They had to do a deal with him, and that deal includes money. We don't know how much, though.
There's other things, because isn't there because this is a prize pool from what, 300,000, right, Mike?
Yeah, so the rest of it's spread amongst the rest of the competitors. Everyone gets a piece.
But isn't there pieces for each race wins too, or something like that? They used to, or is that how they used to do it and they don't do that anymore? It's just at the end.
It's been a while since they documented that, but that does ring a bell that you got more if you won.
I wanted to say it was like 1,000, 500, and 300 or something like that for the top three in the race that they were getting on top of winning at the end of the season. But it doesn't matter. But $101,000, almost $102,000, is a ridiculous sum of payment to take home for, having fun. I'm not gonna say he's having fun. I'm sure he does enjoy it, but it's also probably work for him too to do it.
You're right, Greg, because I think the winner gets 100K, and if it's 101, maybe that extra 1,000 is from his race wins or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian, why don't you start us off on the big story?
All right. So the first update came earlier in the week when Toka, who holds the rights to the British Touring Car Championship,
TOCA.
the BTCC, they posted that they have been forced to terminate the agreement that they have with Motorsports Games. They said they've been given sufficient latitude to rectify those contract breaches that they've had, and unfortunately, Motorsports Game has failed to do so. So they've been trying to get they've been wanting a standalone British Touring Car Championship game. And Motorsports has not been delivering, and they're not living up to their contractual obligations. And Toka has removed themselves from their contract. So officially, Motorsports Games has lost the rights to this series.
Yeah, I think they missed a payment of $800,000. I think it was.
And I think the thing is they've been waiting to try and get an official TOCA game since console games it's been a long time since they've actually got a good series game. So it's kind of a shot across the bow for this series and representing the European championships that would be nice to have as a console game again, I guess, for some enthusiasts.
Yeah, so Brian, that was earlier in the week, and then that sparked media types asking IndyCar what's going on. And so Mike Straw Media on Twitter is one of those, and he posted in an update to my story on the IndyCar game, the entirety of the IndyCar dev team has been laid off at Motorsports Games. We should know more about the game later today, but it's increasingly likely it's dead unless it's sold off.
Yeah, seems like it would be tough to develop a new IndyCar game when you just laid off your entire team that develops it. So I have not heard as of yet that IndyCar has done the same thing as TOCA has, as far as terminating their contract. But I mean, how can you not at this point? I mean, unless there's that last minute company that comes in and swoops in and reinvigorates this company or absorbs it or however it happens. There's just no way that this company's going to put out an IndyCar game.
Well, Adam Stern, who's a NASCAR media business insider, he reports later in the day, IndyCar is not yet confirming that it's moving to terminate its motorsports games deal, but it says it is disappointed the developer has halted production on its officially licensed video game. And he has a direct quote from IndyCar. It says, quote, "Significant work and collaboration has gone into development of our title with motorsports games. We're disappointed they do not have the resources to continue development. We'll announce next steps in due course."
Which tells. Go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, this is Indy has a lot of blame to carry for this because I don't think they did their homework with motorsports games and really found out what their company was like and they just this is just blowing up in their face, and now they've got iRacers who love IndyCar and didn't get their Indy 500 last year, who are salty about it. So now you're pissed off iRacing people, and you're not going to get a game from the other company that you went into business with.
It was lost. If you look at it, Brian, it's lost advertising that they lost this year by exclusifying it, right? They're waiting for this game that has not come out, and that you're losing. Even if you wanted to sign this deal with Motorsports to do this stuff, don't, if they have a game, but don't pull everything from everywhere so that you're just one singularity and you're waiting on them to do anything. And like you said, Brian, maybe they didn't have the best research in it, but it just doesn't make any sense what this company's doing with money that they keep getting thrown at them, and they keep getting rid of people. Like the whole industry of development is having this problem recently too, with a lot of games after they're out, then they start laying people off. But this one hasn't even seemed like it's 25% down the road, and they've had trouble, and they can't keep getting bought out or have someone invest more money, and it's awful.
Well, this has, I think, some fairly longer term implications, because now, it was going to be what, 2024, 2025 before this game was even going to come out in the first place. Now it's anybody's guess how quickly somebody can come along, take this, and finish it. I mean, IndyCar's not going to have a game for a long time.
So Racer.com did an article as well, and they have a quote or some specific, it's a quote from Motorsports Games. Here it is. "For its part, Motorsports Games expressed no intent to relinquish control of the property, citing in the forward-looking statements section of their earnings release that, quote, the company's plan is to identify opportunities to resume development of its IndyCar title elsewhere within the business following the closing of its Australian studio," quote.
Well, it's just a sappy PR piece. It doesn't mean a thing. If they don't have the people and the resources, they're not going to get it done. It's a dead deal.
They need a company that's established that's going to come in and take this over. Like, you'd have to have like already a company, like try and go after like an Electronic Arts EA to do it, or
Risa.
Or you're going to have to, are you going to have to try and merge it with the contract that was signed with NASCAR and iRacing and try and use their resources to try and finish it. But then again, they're going to, that'll leave iRacing won't have the infrastructure to add another development onto it either, right? They won't be able they bought it or got into the NASCAR license knowing that they can do that. They're not expecting this to come out from it.
So I saw a video, and I don't have it here, but somebody mentioned Risa Studios would be a good one to take it over, and of course, iRacing is in the conversation now for sure. But iRacing is really busy with their NASCAR game. So there's one more piece to this. Mike Straw Media, I found a reply on one of his tweets that he put out that says this: no matter what happens, IndyCar is due its minimum guaranteed annual payment from Motorsports Games within 60 days of the start of 2024. Should it not pay, IndyCar can revoke the license. So there's the out, 60 days into 2024.
So is that like March 4th?
That'd be March
3rd?
1.
No, it'd be March, it's a couple days into March, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so the video I saw was speculating that there's no way they'll come up with that payment, and then IndyCar will, take back their license, so to speak, at that time.
Well, you said, Brian, did you say that the TOCA one was like 800 grand?
Yeah, I heard that somewhere.
So, what do you think the IndyCar payment that they're gonna get paid? Because I don't know. I guess they would be on par. Like it would have to be somewhere around that amount of money.
The
they'd have to
same or
come up
more.
with. Yeah. It's just a ridiculous. It's frustrating because nobody's getting any an entity that already had a good product to race with, had it, and now had to give up the rights to it for a company that couldn't get their shit together, and now we have to, wait. It's in limbo now. It's basically a whole series that might not get anything at all.
There was a forum post in iRacing forums about this, of course. People excited. Oh my gosh, are we going to have an Indy 500 this spring? I don't know. With the license still in play until at least March 1st, will iRacing be able to do a deal so we can run the race or not? That's the next question.
Well, I would guess if
they don't need a deal, right? Go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
I was just thinking, if it's March 1st, 2nd, 3rd, they just terminate it. They'll be able to allow. They could just say, "Hey, iRacing, you can go back to using it again." The good thing about iRacing is we have all the peripherals. They just have to start name series and add them back in, don't they? It's like it's not. They don't have to go crazy with it. It's not like we have to create a whole new thing. We have all the peripherals. We just don't have the access to naming rights and stuff and officially doing it. If they terminate it and they get an iRacing swoops in and goes, "Hey, can we start doing this again?" It might be it could be a couple day thing to fix that problem.
Yeah, because I don't think iRacing had any kind of agreement with IndyCar before the motorsports game license. It was just, they just had their game and you could race it. There wasn't any exclusivity from motorsports games.
I'm gonna say we're gonna get the Indy 500 back, and I'm gonna get my IndyCar NIS series back.
I'm guessing that the only way iRacing will not have an Indy 500 is if this expires and another group picks up the license before the race.
All right, exciting that this is finally getting to a point where it's kind of coming full circle. But one thing everyone forgets about, and we don't seem to have any love lost for, is Le Mans. I mean, these guys still have our Le Mans.
But how much in danger could that be at some point? They're running out of people to work on stuff there, it sounds like. And they needed those licenses probably to supplement to get some of that stuff too. So does that hurt their equity in keeping something like that? I mean, wasn't it a 10-year deal they signed with that originally?
It's crazy, and they actually owe a game called Le Mans Ultimate, I think, early spring. That you wonder if they're going to make that game.
Well, to complicate things, I mean, what if this company goes into bankruptcy, and then things get tied up in courts? You got these licenses that are hanging there. I mean, this could get messy for a long, long time.
Could you imagine? We might not see Max Verstappen in a Le Mans race.
He already wrote him off last time. Remember, he said, "I'm never running this thing again" because of the way it was ran and stuff.
Maybe that was strike number one that we didn't see coming.
All right, I'll take this next one. Diage, I think I'm saying that right, is a bot that will check signups once a minute and let you know about races that are about to go official. After missing a race that I would have otherwise raced had I realized it was going official, I've created a bot that will check signups once a minute and send a Discord notification if it reaches those 5 signups. Never miss another cheeky Stock Car Brazil or Mission R race again, says Duncan Watts in the forums. Kind of a neat idea if you're trying to get into an official race in one of those oddball series.
I think this was like obviously that'll be good for the ones that have lower participation and are just always on the cusp. Maybe it's even better for like low participation parts of the day too, right? Like when you have a lull in the day where there's not as many people online. I don't know what the lowest part of the day would be, but it seems like iRacing has a consistent amount of people on all day. But back in the day, this would have been really handy because you'd have like before the NIS series came along and you were anticipating it, when you had an A, B, or C race every hour or every 2 hours, you wanted to know if one was going to go official. You'd be sitting there watching it, waiting to see if the number would go up above 8, and now you can with this. Keeps you you got it on your phone, right? You'll get a notification. You come back to your computer and you can go racing.
Yeah, like when I ran the sprint car, I often would wait to see if it would go official before I would sign up, because if it didn't go official, I wasn't interested really. So, yeah, this would be handy for that kind of situation.
Yeah, I thought, Mike, the same thing you did when I first saw this. I thought, yeah, this would be really cool for sprint cars because that's a great car. It's a lot of fun to drive, but there's not much participation, and I would always sit there and wait to get enough people in it. And with this, it makes it a lot easier.
All right, moving on. I'll take this one too because it's Mike's 2023 awards. I went looking on the website because I tore down my rig and I was messing around at iRacing.com and I found the awards page. And I actually got some new ones here in the last few months. I got Cruise Control Oval, which is win an oval race that counts towards your MPR while having the best iRating in the field.
What race did you win? Which race did you win that did that? It would have been an oval race, right? Yeah. So
it's an oval race, and your car number 1, I think. Or your car number 1.
Would it have been maybe a plate race, like when you were doing what is that 7/4/23? You did that. So, what was around that time? That's July.
It would have been
That's
NIS,
July,
probably.
Is that July 4th? Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So what did you win on that day?
I don't know. I'll have to go look now that you're asking.
That was a Chicago street race for NASCAR.
Did you have the number one?
The Chicago.
Did you have the number 1 iRating?
No, I won the IndyCar run. No, the Indy race, the Indy road race, right?
Yeah, but this is it was an oval. Yeah, it's showing up as oval though. It wouldn't show. Anyways, I would like to know what that is that you got though.
So then in August, I got the 15-year celebration. By participating in all 4 of the 15-year celebration race series. Remember, I was trying to win a prize, so I started each one of them. And then I got, in September, consistent finish level 3 for oval, complete 10 consecutive official oval races with no loss of iRating.
So that was probably your streak with Draft Masters.
Yep. And then it got me thinking about NIS Open points overall. I looked at those. I mean, Division 3, Tom won. I came in second. Chris Waldron came in 11th, and Tony Rochette 12th, I believe. And as far as overall points, Garrett Maines won it, of course. Garrett Maines from the Coke Series. David Hall, our very own David Hall, finished 29th. Congratulations, David. He even missed a couple weeks. Tom Dreiling was 41st. I was 50th. And Justin Pearson, you were 82nd overall.
Yeah, congratulations to you guys. I think those are great showings. Good for Team Tifosi, and a lot of hard work and dedication for you guys. Kudos.
I'm kind of fired up for next year now because, one, I had no idea what the points were until about 90 days ago, until you and Tom started getting tight on the points race, and that's when I started learning. So I'm kind of excited for next year.
Well, Justin, if you got 82nd this year, I mean, let's shoot for a top 50 or something. Like,
we'll try.
Okay, Greg, you got Black Friday.
Yeah, so iRacing time of year again, where you get they post it up on X or Twitter, whatever we keep calling it. Our biggest sale of the year has returned. Hop in the virtual driver's seat with iRacing Black Friday sale. So I guess they are doing, was it 25%? So now, from now through November 30th is the best time to renew your iRacing membership. You this year you're all 1 and 2 year renewals are 25% off, and new users can sign up for 50% off. So
I did it. I renewed 2 years.
So once again, it's always advantageous to do it the same time of year. We have the same sale every year. It's either 20, 25, 50% off or whatever. It's usually 25. But it's always the best time to do it, and save yourself some money.
You got to use the code to get the deal. So make sure you go to iRacing.com/Black Friday to copy the codes, so you can paste them into your shopping cart when you renew. But I mean, do the math here. 24 months at $150, Greg. I mean, how cheap is this hobby?
Well, you know what the nice thing too, I was just noticing, it was the same price last year. They have not increased their prices in a couple years. It's been this for a while.
So if you do the 2-year rate, you're paying $6.25 a month.
Which there's not, you can't even, what can you get? One or two things of beer, or cans of beers?
Now those Starbucks, you know, it's...
Yeah, it's a Starbucks, yeah. No, nobody in iRacing drinks Starbucks. It's not, what are you talking about? At least I was using something somebody on iRacing would relate to, not
21 cents a day.
How much is it per NIS race, Mike?
Well, divide that by 5. 4 cents an NIS race. So every time I run NIS, it costs me 4 cents.
Well, you know,
see, I love this hobby. It's so affordable. I told somebody the other day, I could be golfing and like burning my money, like hold up a lighter to your $100 bills and just, I mean, that's golf.
So you just gave listeners a really good tip. You know, hey, honey, it only cost me 4 cents. You know, it's okay. I can do this.
I feel like this needs an infomercial on CBS. It's only 4 cents an hour. Donate to Mike in his hard time of iRacing.
What's funny is my rig is all tore down. I'm not even racing, but I renewed anyway, of course. But there's all the other Black Friday deals going on, guys. All the rig manufacturers have them right now. Advanced Sim Racing, Sim Labs, they're all about, I think, 15% off. Track Racer. All right, Brian, how about Season 4, Patch 4?
Yeah, so iRacing dumped a new patch for Season 4. It's the fourth one. Looking over the release notes, nothing super fancy. Some issues with the spotters messages for cars moving to pass you. They actually add like a faster coming up quick, or group of faster cars approaching. Now that can play on there. Couple damage model updates. There's one damage model update on the Cup cars. Couple other series. Changed a little bit of the brake limits for the nose, front fenders, and rear on the Cup cars, and the rear brake limits on the rear hood mounts. Lowered the stiffness for the rear hood mounts. Yeah, so just a couple of patches. I didn't see anything super massive.
Oh. And then, John, how many cars wide is this finish?
Yeah, so iRacing put on X, or Twitter X, a little short video of these cars sliding past the start finish line. I mean, there was a huge crash. And so, they're saying, hey, how many cars wide were they? And it looks like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cars wide sliding sideways. Pretty cool video, but it's your classic pile up at the end of the race.
There's actually about 12 in play. If you count the ones that are like halfway up, alongside, and that kind of thing at the line, it might even be 12.
I like how someone said 9 wide, 2.5 inch high, or 2.5 high.
That's the funnest thing, though, is you're at Talladega, you're coming to the checker, and at Talladega, that checker's so far away on the front stretch. It's not where, a checker usually is, in the middle of the straightaway. And boy, inadvertently you end up wrecking, and everyone wrecks, and you just hope you can get it to the line, Justin, how about Mooncar?
Yeah, Mike. Here on X, it looks like Mooncar driver Brian Hicks called into tonight's Mooncar Strike 2023 broadcast to express his opinions on the matter. He also took time to take aim at some of his competitors as well as Moonhead. So I was kind of following you guys in the chat with this. It's kind of an interesting interview. I'd like to learn more.
He basically was telling Mooncar, these races are crap because everyone's wrecking all the time. Maybe he needs to demote some of these drivers and bring up some fresh blood. Because I guess in Mooncar they have like the main series, and then they have a feeder series, or where they recruit out of. And so he's like, Mooncar, you need to, demote some of these guys, for the way they're driving. And so Mooncar called back to Brian Hicks and was like, okay, well, let's do it. I mean, tell me who I should demote, and he wants names. He called out some names like Michael Cozy Jr., and he basically said, these guys wear this Coke driver thing as a badge, which means it gives them the right to, basically plow through the field, to do whatever they want, to get up front. And so he said what a lot of people think, when you race some of these esports guys that, like a Garrett Maines who will drive it 3 wide on the, go down on the grass at Martinsville to get by you, and just kind of push you up out of the way.
I mean, he did admit it. I mean, he did give names at the end, but if you notice, it was kind of a little cringe there for a second when Moonhead goes, give me names, and he was stumbling a little bit.
Well, haven't we always done this though? Like, the way the racing is dictated by how the league. They're who runs the league. So you're in charge of your league. You should be able to, you should make it, what it needs to be. Like if you got criticism, you either fall on the sword or you ended up getting stabbed by it.
So Brian starts out the video saying this, quote, "We need fresh beef. The beef that we currently have is about to expire." Expired beef.
It's a good title.
All right. I got this next one. We got a forum post I thought was a little interesting. It's a poll. And this guy is asking, does the more I rating you have mean the more grip and speed you get?
That's the way it's supposed to be written, Mike. At least say it the right way. You got to say it the way he wrote it.
He said, the more I rating, the more grip and or speed does iRacing give? Question mark.
I mean, obviously, maybe this person's language might not be fully English. Who knows?
Well, now you know this guy, Greg. Look who wrote it. It's Sergio Abella.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You remember Sergio?
So his English isn't perfect. So, yeah, I don't blame him for writing it that way. But do we actually think that correlates at all?
Well, one of the guys that responded, Brandon Holtmeyer, said, "Are you legitimately asking if you have a higher I rating? That you magically have more grip? Yes, and the Earth is flat."
Yeah, this sounds like a conspiracy theory to me. Wait, so my understanding of his question is like the higher your I rating goes, the more grip iRacing is feeding you as you get higher, and yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that would be
Why they're aliens?
That would be like a huge problem for iRacing because they're favoring people with higher I rating, and it's supposed to be equal for everybody,
Sounds like a guy not being honest with himself.
So I know Sergio from NIS maybe 3 years ago, and before he was a staple in NIS, second, third split. He has very broken English. I think he's from South America. I'm not sure. Haven't seen him in NIS for a while, though.
So did you vote in this, Mike? Did you happen to see the vote results?
I voted yes just because I wanted to, it's kind of a joke, but yeah, no, yes is 33% and no is 66%.
It's closer than I thought.
I hope there's a lot of people like Mike just doing it as a joke. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad if a third of your people think that the races are fixed, basically.
Can I start another one? The higher your safety rating, the more solid your car is known as less damage model.
I say the higher your safety rating, the more of a pansy you are.
I know.
Ooh.
You're not driving hard enough if you have a high safety rating. You got to drive harder. Okay, Brian, how about all the events coming up?
Yeah, this is we've been talking about this for a little while, for a couple weeks now. But the BRSS iRacing Formula Ford 1600 Festival's coming up. But what's new is Greg West posted in the forums the balance of power adjustments on it. Oh no, he didn't. That was for Fuji. Sorry. So this is just the race that's coming up. I apologize.
It's in next 2 weeks, right? And then Fuji's this weekend.
Yeah, he did announce the Fuji balance of power. That's going to be our next topic. But as far as the BRSCC iRacing Festival, that's coming up on November the 17th through 18th is the first set of slots. So there's a Friday, Saturday, 2 Saturdays, and a late Saturday race if you're East Coast.
Yeah, and then the Fuji 8-hour is this weekend. 10th, 11th, 12th. Get in there, have fun, guys. Podcast housekeeping, leave us a review of your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find us. Mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We do appreciate it. Get involved in our Discord and join the chat. And we have a website where you can see literally our show script and get all the links to the hardware. iRacersLounge.com, and we have iRacersLounge.shop for the merch. Lots of good shirts and hats and so forth. Don't forget we're on Performance Motorsports Network. Let's jump to fantasy. Brian.
Yep, so Phoenix wrapped up the NASCAR season, which also meant wrap up of the fantasy season, and taking the series win, little excitement there because it was pretty much wrapped up. But Canadian, congratulations, Canadian! He wins the iRacers Lounge fantasy NASCAR season 2003. Team Dewan finished second. NASCAR Jedi finished third. If we're giving out medals for top Tifosi drivers, that would be Tyler Williamson, 10th overall. And, 10th overall. For the week, though, at Phoenix, which is funny because when you actually watch the NASCAR race, it's like you didn't even know that Ross Chastain won the race. You barely could tell. But Boats and Hose and Trick Dickel both tied for the win for the week, with Dollars and Cents in third and Mud Dog in fourth.
And I've been talking with our winner, Canadian, this week. His real name is Adrian Johansson. He's from Canada, but he's a nice guy, and he gave me a mailing address in Detroit, so I don't have to ship it to Canada. But we ordered him one of the really nice sports jerseys, iRacers Lounge sports jerseys. They're like $75 or something, but we got the Canada flag on it, got his last name on the back, and so forth. So, Adrian, congratulations on winning the fantasy, and I hope you like your jersey. It's already been ordered, and hopefully you'll have it soon. So what about Ross Chastain? I mean, some people think he shouldn't have been racing those championship four, especially Ryan Blaney. He kind of took offense to it. He kind of bumped him at one point. But, I mean, what do you guys think? Was Ross out of line?
I don't think so. He's trying to win a race, and he didn't wreck nobody. It wasn't like the truck race by any means.
If they think... Oh, keep going.
No, I was just saying he's just doing his job. He's trying to get a paycheck at the end of the day. I mean, he's 100 times better than he was in the beginning of the season.
If they're supposed to all lay over and let those guys do what they want to do, what's the point in having 36 cars on the track? They might as well just run 4.
I agree totally, Greg. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's kind of odd that usually it's the Final Four driver who wins the race, but I don't know if that's because they're just that much better or if guys are just moving out of the way, like Greg was saying. But I don't. As long as they're not doing something dirty, I mean, I don't see a problem with the racing clean and hard. There's nothing wrong with that.
There was a rumor. There's two sides to the story, but Door Bumper Clear said that there was an official at Ross's spotter stand saying, "Hey, chill out, kind of be easy on Blaney." And if that's true, I don't agree with that.
That's got to be 100% true. There's no sense. They have no reason to not tell the truth there. The only one that doesn't know the truth is that other story that's coming that they're saying NASCAR's confirming they had nobody told to go do it. Why there's no rhyme or reason why they would even tell that story if it wasn't true.
Because that is race manipulation coming from the source. I mean, that's no different what Corey Heim did to Hoskvar. And, like, what if I had a bet down, Ross? Then they make Ross back off and let Blaney win. I mean, a lot of people lost money.
Well, you hear them talk about the junior rule. If junior was in the first lucky dog position. There's definitely a caution coming and things like that. So race manipulation isn't a new thing for them, I'm sure.
I thought it was fun to watch Harvick and his weekend and all his emotion and whatnot, and his kids and on the radio and all this stuff. And he was leading laps in the middle of the race there. I was like excited. Wouldn't that be something if he won? Well, it's been a good fantasy year. I like doing fantasy on the podcast because it gives us a chance to talk about NASCAR as well. So we're going to keep doing this. Congratulations to our winner. That jersey's great. I have one of them. You're going to love it. All right, hardware, software. And Brian, why don't you start us off with the Philips Hue integration?
Yeah, Mike, this is a YouTube video from Daniel Killian, who shows how to integrate the Philips Hue lighting system into sim racing. So we've talked about the Hue lighting system before. I think Mike has dabbled with it a little bit, but here gives you a little bit more detail about how to properly set this up to get the effects you're looking for with these Philips Hue lighting. Did you watch this, Mike? And did it give you any tips on your system?
Well, there's a lot of videos out on the YouTube about how to do this, and this is just a new one, and that's why we put it up, just to remind people about this option. He does a great job explaining how to set it up, because you have to draw a square or a rectangle on the screen of where you want it to look for the shadows or the differences in the light. And so what they often do is they draw that square along the dash of the car. So you see the sun's bouncing off the dash, and then you go under the trees, and then there's no sun on the dash. So that's a really good spot that you can do. And he talks about how to, set that up, how wide it should be, how tall it should be, all the other software integration that you have to set up on the PC and on the phone to make this all work. And so it's a really good walkthrough, one of the best ones I've seen. And so if you are interested in setting up a Philips Hue ambient lighting system, this is a great video for that.
I'm just not. I think it's a really cool system, and the way it integrates with software like this is really cool. I'm not sold that it's the best for iRacing or day racing, I should say. I could see where the night effects would be really cool, because you have a lot more dynamic light changes that would probably be really neat on this system. But it seems like, and maybe I'm wrong, Mike, but it seems like when you're racing during the day, there's not that many variations of lighting.
It's not. You're right. This shines constant the whole time. But let's say you're at Kentucky at night, and you get, as you're going down the backstretch, the lights are every 100 yards, and you almost get that pulsing of the light as you go by them. You're going from one light to the other, and you can almost see just a little bit of variation in the light, because you're driving by these lights under a night. But you're right, if it's daytime, it really doesn't have much effect. And the other part I want to caution people on this is it's expensive, and the videos can be misleading, because these guys are really good at it. They're very specific about using road cars on dark tracks at night that have lights. So it's very contrast, it looks really good. But like Brian alluded to, a lot of track combinations, time of days and stuff, you're not going to have the same effect. And so you really have to pick the right thing for it to look really cool like it does in the videos.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember watching still remember watching Boosted Media's version of this, where it wasn't iRacing, because it was a track with some with lightning in the background, and the lightning effect with the hue lighting was fantastic. It was awesome the way he had it set up. But you don't get that in iRacing. You're not getting lightning storms. You're not racing and stuff like that. So in that case, I just don't know. Yeah, maybe later.
Tempest.
But yeah,
Tempest is coming. All right, the next one I'll take, because I have one of these. It's a SemiCube 2 Drive. True Drive releases their update finally. And so I've been excited about this because I was under the impression that it was going to change how it feels quite a bit, but I was mistaken apparently. Or maybe I just need to wait for somebody to put out some kind of updated profile based on the new software to see if those differences. But I did install the new software. There's a few changes. It's not much. Does it feel any different? It doesn't. I really haven't felt any difference in the actual driving. But I'm using the same old profiles too. I did go looking for any iRacing new profiles since the update, and there hasn't been anybody put anything out. So I guess I'll look again later.
I got the same base, Mike. What profile do you use on Oval?
There's one called NASCAR Super Sensitive.
Okay, that's that Joey Logano one, I think. That's the one I use.
And it's 1080. And then there's a 900 one NASCAR that I run as well, but I pretty much do the 1080 one. All right, Greg, how about the McLaren GT3 V2 Fanatec?
Yeah, because I have the version 1 of this one. It's just a video here by Danny Lee.
It definitely feels
talking about it. Obviously, this one comes with the quick release now too, which is a lot nicer. I love my McLaren GT3 rim. I've never had an issue with it, other than the fact that they don't have the magnetic style shifters that I think that this one now has in it to fix the problem. But other than that, I think it's a really good thing. I haven't got through the whole video. Mike, did he say if was he just reviewing it and saying if he liked it?
Yeah, it's basically a review of this wheel. It's been out for a while, but he liked it. I mean, he didn't have any problem, no flex, the paddles are weird to me. I mean, they're kind of like on a pivot point in the middle. So it's like one long paddle all the way from the left to the right that has a hinge in the middle kind of thing, or pivot in the middle there. He thought that was a little strange, I think. The other thing that threw me off on this is how thick it is. It's so thick.
You don't like them thick, Mike?
Well, it just looks odd. I don't know. I mean, the top of it's 2.5 inches deep or something.
I mean, it's a nice rim. It's not heavy though. That's the thing. Like I haven't compared it to. I don't know, because I like the one that David runs on or has for it, the Formula style one, over this GT one. I would like to see the weight difference, but you're right. The shifter on an anchor point where it's kind of like a teeter totter where it goes back and forth is a little bit of a different style. Would I like that in another steering wheel? No, but was one of the best. I think I paid $149 at the time for the original one for it. So, because I think I bought it at Black Friday on a Black Friday sale. But it's done me well. It's got enough buttons to do what you need to do, and plus adding a button box, you really can't go wrong with it. But I appreciate that they've fixed some of the problems that they did have, that some people were having with it, and kind of, I feel like if you look at this wheel, this is the wheel version of the shifter they had problems with. So this wheel had the same type of problems that their shifters were having. It was always a constant problem the same person was having with it. So they had to come up with a version 2 update of it.
So at one point he picks it up and shakes it violently, and you can hear the buttons rattle. The little buttons are kind of loose, and they make this rattle noise, and he mentioned that. But I think you nailed it with the weight. This thing is really, really lightweight, and it really lets the force feedback come through to your hands when the wheel is lightweight. Look, having a heavy wheel makes a huge difference. When I went from the Fanatec oval to my Max Pappas oval wheel, it's a bit heavier. I could feel the dampening in the force feedback a bit just because it's a heavier wheel.
Yeah, like I said, this has been the best. I guess the most that I use it for is kind of like the GT series. Like I use it for what it's kind of listed for. I use it for Le Mans all the time and all the hybrid cars. It's perfect for putting settings and stuff on it and being able to dial stuff. And if you need back when we used to have hybrids that needed the boost button, it was perfect because you had these nice big trigger points on it. I love this rim. Obviously it's dated, the one I have compared to what they have out now.
Now, Greg, do you use that for NASCAR Road?
I used to in the old car. I don't anymore with the Gen 7.
So just got a regular rim then?
I have a big NASCAR, the big NASCAR. I think it's what 16 or 17-inch rim that I race with. But I used to use the paddle shifters when I was at road courses, but I went back to running the sequential shifter on my shifter thing there.
Now, speaking of rims, that brings us to the next story. Matt Malone shows off his brand new Max Pappas rim, and guess what? He bought the same exact one I got with the USA colors on it.
Yeah, that's a neat little clip. I believe he's running that a street stock. He's sure sawing at that wheel trying to keep that car straight.
I love the big wheel. Just like that video shows. I mean, he was sawing on that thing, going back and forth on it. He gets his forearm up on it at one point. That's what you want. You want this big wheel that's got a lot of padding on it.
Yeah, is that a 15-inch, Mike?
Yeah, so a 15 I think is as big as it get. Most steering wheels in real cars are 13-inch is what you'll find. If you go on Amazon looking for steering wheels, they're all 13 inches, but this one's 15.
And most of the companies, when like if you get a one from like Logitech or Thrustmaster, any ones that come originally, they're all 13s.
Yeah,
but
13 or less.
You can buy, like I said, from Fanatec, you get a 15-inch racing oval. That's what I have. I think you're right, Mike. I think it's 15, not 16.
Okay, John, how about the Conspit ALC?
Yeah, so we've talked about this Conspit, this automatic launch control that they have. They say it's cutting edge technology for faster takeoffs and unmatched consistency. And a lot of controversy over this thing because, when it came out and it was demonstrated how much time you can pick up on some of these standing starts, people thought, this is a cheat. But I don't think so. And they're touting this automatic launch control as a good selling point.
So they have a graphic that kind of shows how it works. It basically says hold down the clutch and the throttle 100% at the same time while you're pushing a button on the wheel. And then when the green light goes, you pop the clutch out all the way 100 to 0 while leaving the throttle all the way down. So you're holding the button down, you're waiting for the green, and all you have to do is let out the clutch all the way. And then it'll do the gradual to the bite point and just take off.
Yeah, and if you look at some of those comments on that on Twitter X, they took a lot of heat for this. I mean, people were saying, you're cheating. I'm never going to use this stuff. You're just adding an element of cheating into iRacing. And I don't know if the controversy's settled or not, but this thing will definitely give you quicker takeoffs.
It's funny how they're calling it cheating, yet steering wheels have had this. A lot of companies have had this come out on the steering wheel, no problem. That McLaren GT three rim that I just showed you, it has launch control paddles on the back of it as well. You pull both of them back, and you let one out, and then you gradually let the other one out. It's basically like an F1 clutch, and I get that this is an automatic thing, but it's it's just another thing that helps out the fellow iRacer.
You're right, Greg. This has been around forever. I have this in my Cube Controls wheel, and it works as you described. It's just a different way of doing it. Instead of using the paddles on the wheel, you're using the pedals and a button. It's just a different way of doing the same thing. So I don't think it's cheating.
So, the question I had about this, do, real race cars, I mean, do they have this kind of technology in real cars that they can do this with? Or is this just something that's exclusive to sim racing?
Road cars, they do, obviously, and obviously things like late models and stuff like that. There's people always being threatening about having like traction control and things like these added in on the late model series and stuff. But you're never gonna see these on, because even the Indy car, they have certain ways to have a clutch for brake points or for bite points and stuff like that. But none of this. It basically is on like the GT. You would see it like the European GT type stuff, roadside. You're not. There's no oval significance to it.
Yeah, Dave Cam did a video on this, did a pretty comprehensive on YouTube, and I was chatting with him one day, and he told me, he said, "Look, this is strictly road racing. Standing starts won't do you a bit of good on oval racing."
Yep. All right. I'll take this one. The SimLab GT1 cockpit has been reviewed by OC Racing. He says, "Is this the perfect sim racing cockpit?" And boy, I've talked big about this cockpit before. I still will. I think it's a great design. I think it is a step up from their original P1X, which is what I have and what David has, and a lot of us have. I like the new design. The way that some of the metal is hooked together with the plates, the way that the triples, the integrated triple monitor mount works and looks, how wide it is, where the seat is. It's wider, given more space. There's a lot of good things to say about it.
Yeah, the guy that did this review, one of the complaints he had about it was he didn't like the shifter mount or the fact that you have to put it on the rail. But when I looked at this, I actually kind of liked it. I mean, I think that's a good spot and a good way to mount it rather than having to put on some kind of external rack to put the shifter on.
Yeah, I mean, where else are you going to put it? And I use my mouse. I want to mount a trackball. I have a trackball actually. 'Cause a mouse moves and a trackball doesn't. But I put my trackball off of that side piece as well as my shifter. But I mean, if you're looking to buy a cockpit, you really need to consider this one. Um, everyone's got a pro cockpit now, and the advanced sim racing one, and boy, that one's really nice too. Either one of these is just like.
And they're all on sale, right? Some of them, the advanced ones are on sale right now.
Yeah, 15% off on all of them, I think. At one point, this guy, OC Racing, he decides to test the flex and stuff. He stands up on the wheel deck, like he gets up on top of it, and get his feet up on it and stands up and jumps around a little bit, kind of thing. I don't think I've seen Will Ford or some of these other guys actually stand on the wheel deck.
Is that a guy knowing that it's going to be replaced if he accidentally broke it?
Well, he does the same thing on the pedal plate as well. He's jumping up and down on it.
Yeah, it's a pretty sturdy unit. In fact, if I understood him right, I think he said he was going to use this as his everyday rig for now. So if he's going to do that, it must be pretty good.
The different design, I'm going to talk about one of the design differences from the P1X to this Pro. The P1X uprights are straight up vertical. These are at an angle, okay, much like the signature for the rig of Next Level Racing, where they come up at an angle and they're not straight up and down. But then the triples, they come off of those at the opposite angle. And so it ends up being lined up correctly as if it was straight up and down. But they got this, diagonal look going up to the left or diagonal up to the right. And so that's the design differences. It looks like it would work out the same, though, and be just as sturdy. All right, let's keep moving. Brian, how about Moza R12?
Yeah, this is a review of the Moza R12 done by Dan Suzuki. He does a pretty comprehensive reviews on all this stuff, really. I think he's one of the better ones as far as giving you solid opinions. But so he did like it. He thought the power that it was plenty strong enough. He noticed, because he's coming from a semi-cube, he noticed a little bit of the gearing as he's turning the wheel. You're feeling it's not super smooth like the semi-cubes are. So in a lot of ways, he thought it was pretty good. But in the end, he kind of said that the problem with it is that the Sim Magic is much better, or at least it's better. It does everything that the Moza does, but does it better. So his opinion was that while he didn't have any major issues with the Moza, that the Sim Magic was a better option for the price.
Yeah, I actually have this bass, and he is right. It's got that little cogging effect in it. In the race, I don't really notice it that much. But he said, for if in that price point, he felt like the Alpha Mini was probably a better purchase. He said, get the R12 if you want the Moza ecosystem. But other than that, he said the Alpha Mini is probably a better choice.
Ouch. I mean, the notching thing he mentioned, where you can feel the 16 little notches barely. Yee. I would hate to be a YouTube reviewer and have to say negative stuff about a product. I mean, because you got to do business with these people on an ongoing basis. You know what I mean? So I know it must be tough for him to say that, but I do appreciate him saying it.
Mike, you are a YouTuber that says crucial things about things.
Oh, yeah, in a roundabout way, I guess.
Well, I mean, he did say that if you've never had like a real high end one like the Semi-Cube, you probably would barely notice it, or at least you wouldn't notice it really much when you're racing. So, so in that way, it's not like something you'd be disappointed in if you haven't already been using a high end system.
In other words, if you have the Semi-Cube, you probably don't need the Moza.
Yeah, but if you had a Semi-Cube, you paid a lot more for it, for one, and you've had just as good as one out there.
Yeah, I upgraded from the Thrustmaster T300 to this, so
that sounds great.
This was an upgrade for me, no doubt about it.
It's a progression, you gotta move up sometimes. It's not the easiest thing in the world. For the first thing you buy is like the very top, because you haven't been in it long enough. Maybe for beginners, it's tough sell to buy the really expensive high end stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how cheap it is to buy the subscription for iRacing, this is where the real money is stuff like this. The other thing at the R12 is, and we've said this before, a lot of reviewers are saying the 12 Newton meter is really the sweet spot, or at least the minimum for a direct drive wheel to feel appropriate. And so I think Dan mentions in this video at some point, the 12 is a good point. Don't go less than that. All right, Justin, how about Simtrex Pro pedals?
Yeah, Mike. The Sim Racing Den reviewed the Gomez Sim Industrial Hyper P1. Am I on the wrong article?
Yeah, we're on the Simtrex Pro pedals, the one above it.
Oh, shoot. I got screwed up. My bad. Yeah, Dan Suzuki reviews the Simtrex Pro pedals. They're good-looking pedals. They remind me of my Henskenveld Ultimate Pluses. They got the same elastomers there.
Yeah, simtrex.com. I'm on their website now to see what the price is.
Yeah, they're high priced. I mean, they're a high end pedal. About double what you would pay for maybe the Simagic pedals. He said they're built really well. They look great, very lightweight. But I think he kind of suggests that, you can get something just as good for a little bit less money. Well, actually, quite about half the money.
Yeah, 1,045 euros. That's without the base plate.
It was interesting. He said that the brake pedal has a hydraulic damper on it, and he didn't like it, so he actually took it off and used it without it. And I don't totally understand all the technical aspects of it, but if you take that off, what's that going to do to your pedals?
Well, it's like a load cell or a hydraulic, and so you could set it up either way, is the way I heard that. And so Dan Suzuki has always seemed to prefer load cell over hydraulic. I think it's kind of his personal preference, actually.
Let me just step in on that one because you guys had that curiosity. I have the Fanatec inverted V3s with the damper on it, and the damper can be used on either the brake or the throttle, and it's just an added tension point. It's almost like adding a shock absorber on top of having the actual load cell part. So on mine, it kind of dials in as stiffness levels. I think it's like 1 through 9, and you can put it on the throttle pedal so that you have a little bit more resistance throttle pedal wise, or put it on the brake, you got more braking resistance, and it just helps the pedal have a little bit more feel to it instead of just being, you're just trying to find a sweet spot on the pedal to where you hit your brakes. At least you have something pushing back against it.
So, these remind me of the Henskenvelds. I mean, but the Henskenvelds are more affordable than this, right, Justin?
Yeah, if you take that blue cylinder off like they're talking about, like I said, besides for the style of the pedal and a little bit of the shape, they look identical, because I answer John's question, it will work directly off those elastomers, and you put them in a certain order to give you your stiffness. Yeah, and the Henskenvelds, I think I got Black Friday. I got them for $1,000 for all three.
Was that with or without base plate?
Oh, that was with. That was. Hold on. That was with the shifter too, actually. So, yeah, base plate, all three pedals, and the shifter.
All right. I'll take the Gomez Hyper P1 review. Sim Racing Den got their hands on this wheel. This is Gomez's, first wheel they really put out that had all the bells and whistles and the display. And so, what can you say? He loved it. I don't think he had anything really bad to say about this. It's got the triple paddles on each side. I mean, it's fully loaded. It's got more buttons than you know what to do with. Great build quality. Um, yeah. Talks about how to set it up, how to manipulate the colors with the software, using profiles. You can use SimHub as well. I don't think you can go wrong with a Gomez wheel. The pricing on this is quite a bit. But if you want one with a display, it's right in line with all the others. Okay, Greg, more Fanatec QR2. What to know?
So I guess there's a video by. I'm trying to see who's it by here, Mike.
It's OC Racing, the same guy.
Okay, so he's just letting us know 10 things you need to know about the new Fanatec QR2 real quick release. I haven't had a chance to really look at this one completely. It seems to be like there's a lot of videos coming out about wanting to know about this quick release system, and it's just I guess it's an informative video on 10 things you need to know about it.
Well, if you're in the Fanatec system, should you get it? And if you do, what does it cost? What's going to be your experience? What do you have to buy to make it work? Because there's different components to it. You have to have the shaft part to put on the DD drive, a new shaft, and then you buy the quick releases separate. There's differences between the pro version and a cheaper version. They both work. He thinks that most people will be perfectly fine with the cheaper version, but the pro one is there if you want to go all out, so to speak.
The one thing he did say about the cheaper version, Mike, was that it's really not made for the high torque modes if you have a DD1 or DD2. You basically would have to run it in low torque mode. It's not strong enough for some of the high end torque that the podium DD1 and DD2 will put out.
Yeah, good point. You would only do the cheaper one if you have one of the lower Newton meter bases. I'm just happy to be out of the Fanatec ecosystem, to be honest with you. I had horrible experience with the QR1 system they had, to the point where I'd be in the middle of a race and my force feedback would just stop in the middle of the corner and I would wreck. I sold it, because I couldn't deal with it anymore.
I am so glad. I think I told you guys before, but that was a toss-up between Fanatec and SemiCube, and that was before I met you guys, and I was kind of flying blind, and luckily I had you guys on the podcast to listen to and direct me towards the SemiCube.
And you're happy with that decision?
Oh, yeah. I love it. It's problem-free, really.
That's the thing. It's bulletproof. You know what I mean? It works every time. The QR has zero play in it. Zero. I mean, there's no play in the QR at all, the way it's designed.
I like the look. It's industrial. The thing's a brick. It's solid.
Okay, Brian, how about Fanatec module rally buttons?
Yeah, this is the teaser actually that Fanatec has put out. I'm not sure if it's ready to order just yet, but it's the Podium Button Module Rally. So it attaches to the front of the Podium steering wheel, the Monte Carlo Rally, to give you the button options that you might want to use while you're racing. So it's kind of different. It's where it's a button add-on for the center hub of your rally wheel. Pretty neat that they can just turn the regular wheel into this one with the button box on it. And yeah, so it looks pretty cool. It's ideal for rally racing, but it could be used on any oval racing. Really, it's an oval rim, so yeah, it would work with anything. If you could use this on stock car racing and stuff like that too.
Like I could attach this to the wheel I have, the Max Pappas wheel or whatever, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's specific to the Fanatec system. It doesn't say that it is.
Right. I think that you could put any kind of wheel on this thing. And so it's almost got that feel of what Ace-Tech is doing with their wheels, where they have a middle button box you buy, and then you buy a rim to go with it, kind of thing, or maybe multiple rims to go with it. But if you're an oval driver, for the longest time on my Fanatec oval wheel, I had a button box in the middle of it where I would use push to talk and different things. And so a lot of people want buttons on their wheel. Right now, I have no buttons on my oval wheel. I have a button box I reach over for a push to talk. Okay, Greg, how about how to cockpit?
So Samsoid posted a how-to video on how to make an iRacing cockpit, and is he just going over all the basics to it, Mike?
As far as setting up your camera view
Oh, okay.
of the
It's
cockpit.
it's camera in the cockpit. Okay, that makes sense. So um, he's just trying to make sure your seating position's right, and got everything that where you want it to be. A lot of this stuff I'm not even used to doing this stuff because in VR I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, he did.
I don't do this stuff. Yeah.
Well, he had a pretty good segment in there, and I didn't realize this till I watched the video. But I think it's maybe Alt 12, or you can go into camera settings and actually change around your cockpit view, and it'll do a lot more than just the black box settings will do.
That's how I adjust my
control
camera.
F12.
Yeah, I didn't know about that, so I'm going to go in and mess around with that tonight.
It changes your head position, but not your field of view, I think.
When I first started, I didn't like that I couldn't see over the hood in the stock car very well. So I ended up increasing my height 2 inches, I think. I'm a tall driver. But I really haven't adjusted anything beyond that.
That's a question I had. Do you see your hood? Like, I don't see over my hood. I don't see no paint.
You can if you get tall enough. So you might go into your black box and turn up your height and see what you think.
But and do you think in real life, like when they're sitting in a cockpit, do they see the paint and all that?
Just a hair of it, a sliver of it, I think.
Well, in VR, I see the hood. I can see all the things you can, if you're adjusting it to where you want to sit in the seat, it shows the hood.
Maybe I'm sitting too low.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Justin. Experiment with going taller. Now that's a black box setting. You don't have to do that in the Control F12. But now, I'll mention this because we're talking about it. Last night when Mackenzie and I were watching the league race from above, and I was telling Mackenzie how to get a good view of the race. And what I told him was Control F12, then hit the space bar to get rid of all the stuff on screen. Then use the WASD key to move the camera around in conjunction with the Control and the Alt key. And so you can basically take that camera, and what I do is the follow cam, where you're following the driver from behind, and then you just move it really high and over to the left, and you get a really nice, spotter view. Brian, how about still mind blowing?
So this is the review of the big screen VR, done by Boosted Media. It's actually a re-review. He had a production version originally, and he's reviewing or he had a beta version. Now he's getting the full production version to try out, and really didn't see much difference between the pre-release version and the mass production version. So nothing really changed, but he really did like it. It was his favorite. It's his favorite VR headset that he's using. It's it's and the kicker for this is it's just so tiny. It's like wearing a pair of heavy sunglasses. Really, it's that small compared to other VR headsets. There are a few downsides based on the size. The FOV is not particularly big, so it doesn't have a great FOV for viewing, which is understandable with the size of this unit. He did say that there's a little bit of issues with some reflecting that he's noticed. Nothing serious that would keep him from using it, but he basically says this is his favorite headset to use if he's using VR now. I mean, Will Ford's probably not going to use VR. He's got like $30,000 in monitors, so he's probably not going to be using VR headsets too much. But as far as his tests go, this is his favorite unit.
If you look at the 7-minute mark, Brian, he does mention one defect or flaw. There's like this rubber, like 3D printed rubber insert that goes kind of over your eyes. And as he pulls the thing off, it's actually tore apart the seam on that rubber piece right at the top, and it's kind of coming apart. It's not a big deal, he said, because when you put it back on, it doesn't affect anything, but it's something to consider. All right, John, you got the LM11 light bar.
Yeah, Sim Racing Pros, they've got the LM11 light bar that it's got some little LED lights that will give you things like RPMs, fuel level, pit speed limiter, flag status, and some other things that you can mount. It's just a good little display to give you some visual cues on these different kinds of parameters to just mount on your rig or your desk or whatever you've got it on.
This reminds me.
Neat. It's only $34.
I was gonna say this reminds me of those spotlights, right? Remember, Mike, when they started having spotlights in the Spotlights 2.0, where it would give you indications for like your spot or your spotting and everything like that, but it also would tell you the flags, and then it also tell you your fuel when your fuel was low and things like that. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, $34, and it literally just has a screw hole in the middle where you can just screw it into something or bolt it into something, and he shows it basically attached to the top of one of his button boxes, and you can actually buy or have it freestanding or buy it with the mount for the button box that he sells as well, and then it goes right along the top of the button box. Kind of neat. sm-racingproducts.com. We got a couple others. Let's hit these real quick. Justin, the VPGT wheel.
Yeah, introducing that VPGT, the ultimate steering wheel designed with an unwavering commitment to attention to the smallest detail. Every element of the VPGT has been meticulously crafted to elevate your sim racing experience to new heights. And that's a hard wheel to say, actually. It's a tongue twister, but it's an interesting looking wheel.
Kind of a classic look, modern look, 1,500 euros.
It's a good looking wheel. I mean, it's got kind of a luxury look to it. Something you'd see in a, like a Cadillac or something.
Right, like a Alfa Romero or something like that, right?
It's very elegant looking.
Yeah, not quite a butterfly. It's got the flat bar across the bottom. Seems a little expensive for a wheel without a screen on it for that much.
It does, yeah. It is overpriced. But it's a high-end wheel. It's got double paddles. I don't know. I mean, you compare this the Gomez wheel with the display, the Hyper P1 we looked at. They're basically the same price, and you get a lot more features, I think, with the Gomez over this one. You have the triple paddles versus dual. I guess it all comes down to the look you're looking for too. These guys are out of the UK. We got one more, and I will take that, and it's a forum post called the Massive Pedal Buyer's Guide. Now, this guy in the forums has put together this post with a huge list with pictures. Aaron Quinn is his name. And I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, we've talked about all of these, I think, but it's kind of neat to see them all in one place,
Yeah, this guy put a lot of work in to collaborate all these different pedals and put them into one guide. It's pretty good, and yeah, I appreciate the work he put into that. If you're searching for pedals or looking for new ones or anything, this has everything right at your fingertips, basically.
It's sorted too, from low price to higher price. So pick your budget and go find the price point you got, and there's your wheel, or there's your pedal, I mean.
Yeah, it's a lot easier than doing a Google search for pedals. I mean, they're all here, everything.
Well, here's one I haven't seen before called Alien. $671. That's new to me. I've not seen those, so we might be talking about those next week. What a guide. I mean, when I was buying pedals, many years ago, there was nothing like this. It was all word of mouth.
There also probably wasn't near as many pedals out there, too.
That's true. Yeah, that's the thing. There wasn't a lot of choices.
I thought when you were buying pedals, Mike, it was to get things for your horses, saddles for your horses.
I bought those pedals. The company I bought them from doesn't even exist anymore. So, but they should last forever. If they don't, I know how to get them fixed.
I feel like you need those.
All right, moving.
You need to upgrade to those. Was those $6,000 ones? The sim. Is it Sim
I don't think I'll ever do that. But
active pedals.
We'll leave that for our buddy Steve Thompson. Let's jump to results and talk. Well, it's Winter Series league racing at Daytona last night. David Hall got a P9. He said, got separated after the first green stop. Never got back to the lead pack, but we gained a lot of ground once we got 4 teammates lined up. A lot of carnage at the end gained us a couple of spots too. Overall, though, it was nice to have a clean race free of excessive stupidity of the NIS this year. Yes, it was the worst this year. John, P28.
Yeah, this was my first ever Winter Series race. And you could tell, man, I made some rookie mistakes. This race went 100 laps green flag, no cautions. And, in the races that I'm in my splits, that never happens. So I'm not used to green flag pit stops. And so, sure enough, first green flag stop when I'm coming out on the apron in turns 1 and 2, turn the car sideways. Lost the draft with my teammates because of that, and that was it, man. I was down at the bottom.
That's funny that you say that, because when you're in leagues and stuff like this, you gotta practice pit stops. It's like you never have to really worry about it because they're always under caution in NIS. But yeah, this league, you're gonna have to practice those pit stops there, buddy.
Yeah, I am. In fact, that's I'm going to use that active reset for that, just to do pit stops, because I am not used to it.
Well, you need to practice it on old tires to make it right, though.
You can do that with the, just do a long run and then set your marks for your resets.
What I was gonna say, do they have the new pit road configuration for Atlanta for when we go there? I can't remember. Because Atlanta's next week's track.
Where you have to enter on the back or something?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to double check that. But if it is in the back, it's not so bad. But if you have to enter off of 3 and 4, that is one of the worst things hard to do, especially in the pack.
Yeah, you always get caught out at Atlanta when you pit off 3 and 4 there. It's really hard to get it slowed down. John, at one point I was watching from above before the stops. You were running good. You were up in the lead pack. I want to say about 8th, 9th on the outside, getting pushed by none other than Christian Schalliner from iRacing.
Yeah, I up until that pit stop, I was running, top 10, got up to 7th place at one point, and just got in there and just fumbled the ball, and that was it. But yeah, I had a lot of fun for the first 40 laps. It was great, looking forward to doing this every week.
Now, I think at one point there was a scramble. The line was disintegrating. Everyone's going to the bottom, and somehow, some way, you put it in the wall.
Yeah, I did. I had a guy that was ahead of me that was running a really high line. I thought it was too high. And so coming out of 3, staying behind him, I just fumbled it just a little bit, and I did hit the wall. I got some damage out of it. I don't know that it affected me that much. I don't think it did. I think my problem was I just lost the draft.
All right, moving on. Brad Wren got a P11. Followed the leader for most of the race. After the first pit stop, we were separated and fought the remainder of the race trying to track down leaders. Setup was a bit squirrely, and that made following people difficult. Leaders wreck come into the checkered and managed to slide through the grass for an 11th place finish. We'll be glad to get to a non-drafting track. Justin, P12.
Yeah, I started P4. I stayed in the lead pack until the first pit stops, and I tried to hook up. I got hooked up with you guys. Me and Greg, I think, got hooked up, and Greg was behind me that time, and we got stuck behind a car that just wasn't stable. I think I pushed him for 6 seconds. We gained 6 seconds on the lead pack. Then he just started getting wobbly. Then we lost it, and then there at the end, it was a good race until turn 4, and they got a little squirrely, and a guy should have locked his brakes down, and he throttled up right into me, and I know I was a little hot at the end of the race. Should have been a top 10, but oh well.
You were looking good, Justin, last night, pushing, like you said, gaining on the pack in front of you. You were managing temps. At one point you were pushing Greg, and you tell Greg, oh, move up a half lane so I can get some air, and Greg would magically move up just enough for you to breathe it. But you guys were making shit happen, and I was impressed with the teamwork on you guys trying to make something happen.
Yeah, I learned a lot that race on how to manage the draft. I mean, I was forced to, and God, I was pushing the shit out of Greg.
Yeah,
Right,
that
Greg,
was.
you got P6.
Yeah, I was the lucky one because I was leading the train, so I was the one dictating our fuel mileage, I guess, for the whole race and our pit strategy. But the thing that got me was, you know, I said this to Justin at the end there. I'm not a restricted freight or plate racer or draft track guy. I'm not the greatest at it. I'm more of a fuel economy, uh, braking type guy. So I just try and, manage what I can. And when they had that wreck out of four, coming to the checkered flag, I was just lucky because I was the one leading the thing. I knew where they were going, and everybody was trying to follow me, and it just kind of all washed down. I was able to clear it, and that's how I got P6. But thanks to Justin, that's the only reason I had anything. The only reason, like, if I probably would have been okay being up there in someone else's pack because each time I got onto pit road, I gained spots. Going on and off pit road, I seemed to be better than most of the people that were trying to do it. So I gained. I think I was 3 seconds ahead of Justin and David and them when they came down pit road the second time and they had to catch up to me.
Um, yeah, what was, if you noticed that guy that did that kind of dumb move at the end, he was the guy that we pushed. We were 7 seconds back, and I got him to 1.3, and he couldn't handle his car anymore. It was the same exact guy. That guy single-handedly. I bet you, I would have done real good.
You were a little hot after the race, considering, but it was fun to watch from above. From my point of view, watching from the spotter stand, we blew it on pit road. The first pit road, we lost 4 seconds, and I don't think it mattered that the guys who were 4 seconds ahead pitted first and you guys pitted second. It's just that they were faster, when in getting the group back together, getting up to speed, and they gained that 4 seconds on you guys, and then it was really hard to recover from that.
I bet you I could have gained a lot more on pit road. This is my first league for one. Two, is most teammates I ever raced with, and three, I just didn't want to demolish you guys on pit road, so on entry. So I was playing kind of safe.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is you guys were too safe getting it in and out of pit road. We need to really button that up in the future, and just be tight. But yeah, we had 4 cars in a row at one point, with Brad and Greg and Justin and so forth. John, you were part of the mix for part of the race, and then McKenzie was racing with us as well, but he actually lost force feedback or something on his wheel and ended up wrecking out, basically.
Also, shout out to Bobby Jonas for coming up with a team paint for all of us to go around there, where it just had different. I guess it was like a version of the iRock schemes where we all have picked a color. Plus, we're running the iRacers Lounge colors. They were really well done. We just didn't get it all coordinated in time to be ready for that race on our end. So hopefully by next Monday we'll have it all set up. Or sorry, next Wednesday we'll have it all set up.
Yeah, he did a real good job. Mine looks awesome.
Yeah, trading paints. I don't know, did we not get them uploaded in time or what the problem was, but I didn't see hardly anyone's new paints.
One of the problems was the actual league. If you put it in the league one, it wasn't working, so we had to put it in the actual main as your main paint.
So, like I said, before the race, my car was I see all white on my car. Just my numbers are colored, but on stream it was perfect. And then most of you guys seen it, and then only somebody else seen white. David could only see white.
Yeah, I could only see white as well. And so I had literally downloaded and installed iRacing and Trading Paints just moments before the race on this computer. It's never been installed before. So I never had a single paint on this computer until I entered that room. But I still only saw white. So I don't know what went wrong, but we got to sort that out. Other racing, Brad ran Thursday fixed at Phoenix NIS P16, ran middle of the pack, but seemed to get caught up in almost every wreck. Finished with 16X, just trying not to get a drive-through. Race took too long with 24 cautions. I ran Draft Masters Car of Tomorrow at Talladega. P10 was way too loose, and I could barely hold on to it. John, you ran this with me, and I think you and I came up with some setup, but I couldn't run it.
It was like driving a 230 mile an hour boat, going back and forth, all the way around the track. Yeah, it was just way too loose. I mean, I got hit by somebody and ended up in P15, but yeah, I'm not using that setup again. It was awful.
As Darrell Waltrip would say, it's got the hospital wobble.
That's exactly what it had.
All right, and then you ran trucks P12?
Yeah, I got into the iRacing Super Speedway race Tuesday night just to see what it was like, and I always like that track just because it's different. But very first lap, another car net coated and took me out. I was in P2, so I finished P12. But fun track.
All right, let's jump to final thoughts. Greg Hectus.
Kind of interesting to be in the off season. I didn't race much near the end of the year with some circumstances in life, but I'm actually pretty excited to just kind of relax and run some road racing and do this winter series here and have some time for some other stuff in life and just let us get through the winter here. It's just been a tough year, and I just want to get my escape of racing and doing some stuff. It helps me change or make things in my mind straighter. So maybe just take some of the worries away. So last night it was great to just be on with you guys and not have to worry about some things for once. So look forward to more racing, and hopefully we can have a good showing in this winter series.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, the league racing really is cool because we all get to be in the same race together, which is unusual, but it's a neat experience. All right, Brian McCubbin, final thought.
Yeah, right now just checking out Black Friday sales for computer stuff, so I can try to save a few bucks on a new PC because mine's still crashing on me. So I've decided that it's time to scrap things and start again.
Yikes! Sounds expensive. John Kearney, final thoughts.
Yeah, so last night was the first time I've ever done a league race, and the first time I've ever been able to race with teammates in a race like that. So for me, it was a great first experience. Speaks volumes for how important it is to have that team concept membership, especially with guys like you and Tifosi Racing who have done this for a long time. You know what you're talking about, and always a learning experience. But I'm excited about this winter series. Want to keep doing it. Hope I make every race. Also excited that I got an email today. My iRacers Lounge polo is in the mail and on the way.
All right. Get yourself some merch. Justin Pearson, final thought.
Yeah, I'm excited about this league. This is my first league I've ran. Kind of piggyback what John said about green flag laps. This is my first race I ran a whole race, green flag and all. Even though I was a little frustrated at the end, I really did have fun. I learned a lot, and I kind of can't wait until next year, and I'm learning about these points and all that, and I think you guys may come up to my division, right? D2, and we can battle it out because I started.
David, and ours vision. Actually, I was in Division 2 as well.
Okay, yeah, and then because I started mid-season, I kind of go on Mike's rewards or what he accomplished. I started mid-season at 1700 IR, and I'm at 3200, so I'm going to pat myself on the back on that one.
Yeah, well done. It's a good year for you, even though it wasn't a full season. My final thoughts, I want to do a shout out to Metro Ford from Chicago. They've been our sponsor through the whole season for the equipment section, and what great people to work with. Steve Thompson and everybody over there. We're so happy to be associated with great people who provide cars to iRacers like you guys. If you need a car, hit them up. I mean, the car market is horrible right now, and you need a friend in the business. And Steve Thompson's your guy, so hit him up. Steve is working on a new sponsorship for us, so thank you, Steve. We'll announce that soon. My final thoughts, still tearing down the rig. Tonight, I'm taking down the uprights, the wheelbase, and all that, and the triple monitor mount, because it won't fit through the door. It's too wide, and I'm hoping just to roll the bottom base out without taking the seat off of it. But I got to get it out the door, and right now it's still a bit wide, so I need to take those uprights off anyway because one of them's sagging. Remember, that was the original reason I needed to take it apart. So we're going to do that tonight. Not looking forward to it, but trying to keep it in one piece without taking apart every little thing. So how logistically I'm going to do that with one person, I don't know, but I might be hanging ropes from the ceiling on a pulley, or maybe I need an engine puller or something like that. I don't know. But with that, we'll see you on the next one. See you on the track. Later.